It's time for The Verdict. The Verdict is a lively discussion of current events and legal issues pertinent to Oklahomans. The Verdict is hosted by Kent Myers and Mick Cornett. It's time for The Verdict.
Hello again. Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers. We're here every Wednesday night at 9:30 discussing current events and topical issues. And boy, this one's got a lot of meat to it.
It does. It's going to be talking about investment scams, investment fraud, as supervised or stopped by the Oklahoma Securities Commission. We're going to have Irving Faught tonight as our guest. He is the administrator of the Oklahoma Securities Department, and he's going to be talking about a WISE program, W-I-S-E. That's an acronym for the program he's going to describe to us, but it's basically be wise before you invest. You know, Mick, it's about every month or 6 weeks we see a headline about some kind of a Ponzi scheme or chain letter scheme or some other similar device designed to bilk people out of their money happening here in Oklahoma, and it happens everywhere, but we certainly get our share of it. And our guest tonight is going to be someone who's in charge of trying to stop it, trying to get refunds if it's possible, and trying to educate investors about what to look for that would be warning signals that you're about to jump into something that you shouldn't be in.
Information about past scams and a lot of other things that the Oklahoma Security Commission has been involved in uncovering. A lot of good information ahead your way on tonight's edition of The Verdict. Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce tonight's guest.
Tonight we're really pleased to have Irving Faught, the administrator of the Oklahoma Securities Department, with us to talk about something that is wise. We'll let him explain that in just a minute, what we're talking about. Irving is an Oklahoma City native, a Northwest Classen graduate, very close to my year of graduation from Northwest Classen. He's a University of Oklahoma undergraduate and a University of Virginia law graduate. He's the author of the Oklahoma Business Organizations text, which is the annual update on business organizations in Oklahoma that is widely relied on by practitioners in Oklahoma. He has been in private practice for a number of years, and then in 1991 joined the Oklahoma Securities Department as its administrator. Since that time, he's become a certified fraud examiner, and he's a voting member of the North American Securities Administrators Association, an organization that oversees how securities fraud investigations take place and how investments are regulated from a state level. Irving, this is your first appearance, but we hope not your last. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Kent. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good to see you.
Irving, I think most people have heard of the Oklahoma Securities Commission, but basically, for the audience that may not know everything that your organization is involved with, what is your organization, what do you do, and what are your goals?
We are the only state agency that is charged with enforcement of the Oklahoma Securities Act. As a good parallel, at the federal level, there's a National Securities Act administered and enforced by the SEC. Each state has its own Securities Act that is administered by an organization, an agency similar to ours. Our primary functions are four. One, and the biggest function, is to remedy fraud when it occurs. That's to be there to help people or to see that it doesn't happen again. The other jobs we do that support that are registration of securities. If you had a corporation and you needed to raise capital, in order to do that, you would have to register the stock or the bonds or whatever securities you used with the national government or with the state or with both, unless for some reason they're exempt. We handle that in Oklahoma. We also handle the registration of securities professionals, stockbrokers, and investment advisors. And then we have another mission that really supports all of that. And I like to think of it as the fence on the high cliff overlooking the beautiful scenic valley, rather than the ambulance in the below in case some of those people looking at the scenery fall off. It's better to have a fence than an ambulance. And that's investor education. And that's a rather new mission for state securities administrators, but one that we're taking very seriously and trying to use now.
Who determines your funding, and whom do you report to, if anyone?
The commission is appointed by the governor, comprises 5 members from across the state. The Department of Securities works under the commission to implement the commission's policies, and the administrator, my job, is kind of like the CEO or the chairman of the board of those agencies. We're funded mainly through the revenues that we raise. That's in the sense of fees from securities professionals being licensed in Oklahoma, the registration of securities, mutual funds is our largest source of revenues. And then that's how we're funded.
You mentioned as one of your functions education, and I want to now place our focus there, if I may.
Okay.
From time to time, our viewers, I know, can remember seeing stories of Ponzi schemes and investment opportunities in Oklahoma that looked too good, and a lot of people got taken on them. We've seen recently stories out of Shawnee, out of Crescent, and other places where investment activities of a questionable nature may be taking place. And I suppose your education program is similar to preventive medicine. If an investor has the right information going in, they're less likely to step into trouble than if they are uninformed going in. I know that you have put together a television show that's going to be approximately 30 minutes in length, dealing with a real-life fraudulent scheme that took place in the state of Oklahoma. And we have a clip now of about a minute or so, minute and a half, showing kind of an introduction to this upcoming show put together by the Securities Department dealing with an investment problem in Oklahoma. Let's look at that clip now.
Call the Hickman Agency today for your tax-free income products. Personal retirement programs, returns on your investment as high as 80%. Hello, I'm Bill Hickman with the Hickman Agency, home of the 80% return and the tax-free income. 11% interest, safe and guaranteed.
We went up to his office and I gave him a check for $160,000.
Well, obviously this is incredibly significant, an $8 million loss and 160 victims. There's a lot of people who've lost a lot of dreams because of this crime.
We were out looking for him. We had my investigators on the ground waiting for the minute the warrant got signed because I wanted him in custody.
But I know a lot of people that their day-to-day life's affected, so that they could drive a Hummer.
Day for investors in the state of Oklahoma, in that con artists will learn that you will have to face the brunt of state civil, criminal, and federal criminal action if you commit fraud in the state of Oklahoma.
Well, Irving, that looks like it's going to be a fascinating show about an actual case. How does this fit in with your WISE program, the Winning Through Investment Strategy and Education?
Well, we're trying to find new ways to reach people. Yeah. We've been doing education for several years now, and it's kind of disheartening when our main source of enforcing the act is to get there after people have been hurt. Because then it's too late to do anything for anybody. And government shouldn't be expected to come in and solve people's problems. They're best able to handle their problems if they're educated. That happens across the board. And one area we're sorely lacking in education is financial literacy. And as an offshoot of that, directly related to investor education.
Well, in the situation that we just saw the clip from, when was the crime committed? When the television commercials aired trying to market these products? When the checks were transferred to the person who's now accused of bilking these people out of money, or was it later? When does the crime happen in that chain of events?
The crime occurs literally when there's an offer or a sale or a purchase of a security, when there's a lie involved or a half-truth where the rest of the truth isn't told to people. So the ad was the beginning of the crime. When they take the checks, that's a crime. So it's a series of events that occur, any one of which would violate the Oklahoma Securities Act.
And no one's looking over the television commercials when they go out. Is there no one? I mean, the first time someone saw that commercial, should they have said that's a crime, or did they need more information at that point?
Well, you'd need more information than just the television spot. But our investigators watch the newspapers and watch the TV shows as good as we can do to find out that sort of thing. We rely mainly on people like you who see them to call us and say, whoa, is this right or correct? Most of the enforcement matters that come through our department come from complaints.
We're running out of time in this first segment, but
Okay.
Irving Faught will be here for more, and we're going to learn about the Oklahoma Securities Commission, what they do, and how we can keep you from being cheated out of a lot of money. Stay tuned. It's The Verdict. We're back on The Verdict. Irving Faught is our guest. He is the head of the Oklahoma Securities Commission. Kent, where do we go from here?
I want to go back to what we were talking about just before the break, and that is the education program that your department's going to engage in insofar as trying to prevent situations like we saw wreak havoc over in Potawatomi County. What are you going to be doing besides this 30-minute television show that we know will air right here on this station? We don't know quite yet when, but what else besides the 30-minute television show are you going to do?
We've entered into a partnership with the University of Oklahoma Continuing Education. And the reason for that is their expertise in delivering education. We have the investor side, University of Oklahoma Continuing Education has the education side. We'll provide a product, they'll provide the delivery at the right point in time to the people that need it, that will use it. A part of that program has been reaching, particularly if we go as a national government into investing our Social Security or our own retirement funds, we see a great need for people to understand what all is involved, the risks and how to avoid fraud. So our program will mainly reach out through educational programs, workshops to newlyweds, people going into the workforce for the first time that may have to manage their own 401k plans, people getting out of the military, school teachers that might need a background in financial education to teach to school-age children. And then a broad outreach would be through, because of the expertise that they have at OU, to develop films that would be broadcast statewide that show actual cases. So
Like
people
the one
can,
we just
yes.
saw a minute ago.
So people can understand how they could be a victim, and then what a con artist looks like, what the victim and the con artist. So they can take to the table then, am I susceptible to this? Can I learn anything from this? We're also going to do radio shows, a 1-minute segment daily that will broadcast measures on anti-fraud, investment product types, and then what to do to find out about securities professionals and how to pick them. That'll be supported by the internet home pages where we'll have in-depth detailed information about the subject we're talking about on the radio, or this film. If you see something in that film like the word Ponzi, then you can go to our websites or to the educational material we'll develop as to exactly what that means and how it affects your life.
How prevalent are these problems?
Well, they just seem to me to pop up all the time. You could have knocked me over with a feather as to what happened to us last year. In the Shawnee case with 160 people losing their life savings, in the Crescent case where we really don't know the number of people and how much they've been damaged so far, but we see a real need to reach people so they'll understand this, can prevent it from happening to them.
Well, back to this film clip just a minute. I don't want to bring it back up, but the elderly lady that was shown on there was what was her personal circumstance, as you
Well,
recall
she's
it?
94 years old at the time. All of the money that she had left in her savings to live off of was lost in this enterprise, and she has no way to make it up. She's also legally blind.
Well, the victims are oftentimes the least able to protect themselves,
That's
and I
exactly
suppose
right.
that's what you're trying to
That's exactly
in
right.
part remedy. How long will this WISE program continue? Is it just a 30-day thing, or is it
No,
more lengthy?
we have a year-long contract with OU to develop all of these programs and try to reach all of these separate groups. The radio shows now are scheduled for 16 weeks, and hopefully that if the performance measurements show that they are effective and efficient use of our educational tool, we'll try to expand and develop those. Same thing for the TV.
Now, let me change the subject. Same subject, a little different focus.
Okay.
We've been talking about how we protect investors. We also know another of your function is regulation of brokers and dealers. In some cases, and of course the vast minority, a very small minority of cases, is the wrong committed by somebody that either is or should be licensed by your department. What do you do in regulating brokers and dealers to try to prevent such things from happening?
All right, what we do there is we have on-site routine examinations where we go to every broker-dealer in the state of Oklahoma and every investment advisor that's located in Oklahoma, be it a home office or a branch office, and we conduct on-site unscheduled surprise examinations. Now, as you would imagine, most people in this business are sincere and put their clients' interests first, and so very rarely do these exams discover or turn up fraud, but they let people know that we're coming, and I think help prevent fraud. Mm-hmm. When we have a complaint is the best way to find out about a rogue stock broker. When that happens, we can file civil cases, we can revoke their license and bar them from association with anybody in the state of Oklahoma, and then refer them for criminal action if necessary.
Are chain letters against the law?
Chain letters, maybe, maybe not. They're a pyramid type scheme, and that is a criminal offense in the state of Oklahoma. Now, I don't regulate, that's not my department. The DAs and criminal prosecutors would be involved in that. But yes, pyramid scams are illegal in Oklahoma.
Is there any correlation between complaints to your office or actual problems out in the marketplace with unlawful conduct between in relation to the performance of the market? If the market's up, are you more likely to get more complaints than if the market's down or on the way down? Or is there any correlation at all?
Yeah, I think there is a correlation, Kent. It seems to be when the market is going down, people are very unhappy and they feel like that they have been misled. So the number of complaints go up during a down market, and when everybody's making money, they're happy, so we don't see as many complaints. It's a fairly steady situation, though.
Yeah. How do you respond to internet marketing of illegal securities that's obviously coming over the internet?
Yeah, internet marketing is the same as print media, telephone media. It still can constitute an offer, sale, or purchase of a security, and we watch that. And again, on complaints, if we see something coming in, if they come from offshore or out of the state of Oklahoma, we turn that over to the national government that would have better facilities to research and investigate those cases.
Do you regulate brokers and dealers?
Yes, we do.
How much of your time is spent on that specific part of the business?
Well, the licensing part of the business is extensive. We have some 65,000 people registered, individuals registered to license to sell securities in the state of Oklahoma. Now,
65,000
That's right.
people?
Not all of them are located in Oklahoma.
I see.
As a matter of fact, on the ground in Oklahoma, there's probably about 4,000 agents. There are some 1,600 broker-dealers, and in Oklahoma, probably 19 home offices located in Oklahoma. And then on investment advisors, there's another large number of people that are registered in Oklahoma. The cold calls you get from somebody in New York, in order for them to do that in Oklahoma, if they're working even for a reputable broker, they will need to be licensed to do that in the state of Oklahoma. So I suggest that people get calls from professionals that they don't know, haven't contacted themselves, they check with us to see if they're licensed.
We are running out of time. I want to give a website where people can get more information on the WISE program, wiseok.com, but also securities.ok.gov is the website of your situation,
Yes.
and you can lead people to the WISE program, and they can get more information there.
That's correct.
So it's mid-January. Everybody ought to be alert to the starting of the WISE program.
That's right.
Well,
Thank
I
you.
wish you and Chris Turner and Mike Waters and all those at the University of Oklahoma good luck in your endeavors.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much.
coming.
My pleasure.
Kent and I'll be back with the final word after this. Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett, Kent Myers here to wrap it up, and today we learned more about the Oklahoma Securities Commission.
Yes, Irving Faught is doing an excellent job as administrator of the Oklahoma Securities Department and has done so for a number of years. You know, he came to that job with a nice background in that area, the securities law and investing law, and was quite a well-recognized practitioner in that area, and has brought his expertise into the administrative agency and is just doing a fine job making sure that our investing public is as safe as it can be, or is it as it allows itself to be under the circumstance. There's the lure of big returns, which ought to be the first red flag, I suspect, for most investors, to make you wonder, am I getting into something that's going to be a scam, or is it really going to pay me these big returns, and how safe is it? Usually the bigger the return, the less safe it is. But we appreciate Irving giving us his time tonight. Next week we're going to be talking with Lynn Draper, the president of the Jim Thorpe Association and the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame.
So that'll be next Wednesday night at 9:30. For Kent Myers, I'm Mick Cornett. We'll see you then and on future editions of The Verdict.